Well, boys, looks like you started the fun without me.
You're all sick. Every last one of you.
We're going to need a bigger gun.
What's the matter? You scared of things that go boom, boom?
Give me one goddamn reason why I shouldn't blow your goddamn brains all over that goddamn wall.
It almost feels weird even coming in off that music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
Like we should wait for it to wind down or something. I don't
breathe. Maybe you've done a piano dub.
My name is Eric, and you're Michael.
I am Michael.
And we got a double feature today. We got a single word movie, a double order dilemma feature.
I'm calling it Failed Utopia double feature today.
Failed Utopia is fine. That's a fine theme. Here's the order dilemma, right? This is break out your bag, cat. It's time for another exciting episode of double feature.
Yep.
Episode.
Right.
And so here's the thing. We didn't use the bag cat today.
We didn't.
This is I'm going to try and be a little bit more excited.
We
but this
feared
is one
for
of
the
those,
bag cat.
Yeah. Well, we came up with this great device, doublefeatureshow.com/bag cat. It's a stupid fucking cat popping out of a bag. It's not even in English. Not that it matters. The cat doesn't even talk, but we've been thwarted, man.
I don't know if we've been thwarted. I think our fear of being thwarted prevented us from letting it happen.
We created a great weapon, and it's not useful here.
Yeah, it's not. Well, I was we were both afraid that watching Bag Cat would just seem really sad.
Well, so so we're gonna do Ravenous and Jonestown. We're gonna spoil them. Jonestown's a documentary, and Ravenous is really hip. You should see it and use the chapters. If you haven't seen it, skip to Jonestown, and hopefully I'll sound happier than this. Here's what happens every time. We're going to take a couple minutes to bullshit here.
Sure.
All right.
Bullshit, bag cat diatribe.
Use the chapters. Skip over to the I don't give a shit. It's our show. We're just going to talk about it a little bit. It's important. So we cover these movies. Everybody knows about Bag Cat right now because it's probably the best thing we've ever created.
Second most visited page, third most.
Right, something like that. And it's not even our video. It's some other guy.
Right.
It doesn't matter. So you watch some movies. They're rough. You have a bad time. You feel sad. You don't want to come on our show and feel sad.
Right.
We're like friends here. We're humanity. People come. They should hang out with us. It's all fine. We love every goddamn person who listens to this show, even the people who write us mean letters.
Yeah.
Love them all.
Especially those.
Love people. Hate ideas. Love people, right? That thing.
Sounds about right.
All right. So Bag Cat. So getting back to Bag Cat. So we're pairing these movies up, and every year we seem to have this dilemma since at least the second year. Where we'll get like halfway through the year, and all of a sudden the hard stuff starts coming. Yeah. We start putting these movies on, movies that you don't watch often enough because they're kind of like a punch to the gut.
It started with Martyrs. I mean, that's a textbook example of when to
Martyrs,
bust out the cat.
Right. There's been a bunch of them.
Oh, sure.
And every time we talk about Bag Cat, we seem to bring them all up. Even as far back as Hostel, I guess. Hostel was more just weird feelings.
Yeah.
But also just this fucking profound moment in cinema that I didn't know movies could do, right? And so our hope is we fixed this. We no longer have a movie that disturbs us so much we can't record a show. Because we have a dumb little cat that pops his stupid head out of a bag. And what's he going to do? His head's in the bag, and then it comes out of the bag. Here's the thing, right? So we don't have to worry about order. We don't have to worry about the fun one goes second or whatever, get us out of the mood.
Sure.
Because we just look at the dumb little cat, and then we should all feel better.
Right.
Everybody should feel. The people who listen should feel better. We should feel better. We should come on here. We should just all have a great time. It should be a goddamn party. So we put Ravenous first. And just watch it first, whatever. Watch it. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. By comparison, it's the fun one. Because at this point, every film we've ever done, with the exception of maybe a small handful, will be, by comparison, the fun one.
Right.
Next to Jonestown. So that makes Ravenous the fun one. Right. Which is even funnier because it's not. But we're going to put it first, and then we're going to talk about Jonestown. Now, normally we would use the Bag Cat at the end.
Sure.
You and I would watch Bag Cat, and then we'd come record the show. Everything would be fine. We just finished watching Jonestown a couple minutes ago. And my fear is I'm imagining Bag Cat, but with the piano score from the end of Jonestown.
Right.
Bad Cat would destroy Bad Cat.
It would.
We would never be able to use it again.
Mm-hmm.
It would crush it. Bad Cat would become instantly the saddest fucking thing you've ever seen. Which, I mean, is not fair. That's not something that you cannot taint the Bad Cat. It needs to be pure and beautiful at all times. And stupid. It needs to remain stupid. Because the second
above all
stops,
things.
it stops becoming stupid.
It needs to remain mindless and disassociated.
Yeah, right. Otherwise, there's no constant in the universe. So I'm really sad, and we're going to start with Ravenous, and we'll come back to this.
All right. So yeah, I mean, you mentioned that Ravenous is, you said by comparison, the fun one, and that is really the only way to put it, because
Sure.
Watching Ravenous is like being punched in the face
Right.
over and over again, and right when you think you're ready to get punched in the face again, it punches you in the gut,
Right.
and then punches you in the face.
Yeah, right back there.
The thing about Ravenous that is ridiculously hard to get a handle on is this score.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? One of the most standout things for Ravenous is this score, and it's done by Damon Albarn, who I know that you and I are both big fans of.
We talked about on I believe, the Tank Girl and Schindler's List episode.
Right.
Because along with the artist from the Tank Girl comic,
Mm-hmm.
Damon Albarn is part of Gorillaz.
Sure.
And the
He
Good,
was
the
from
Bad,
Blur in
and
the
Queen,
90s.
Yeah, lots of bands.
Yeah.
He did this great Gary Newman cover, I'm sure I mentioned.
Uh-huh.
We have a technical. Just all around great guy.
Yeah.
And you asked me something kind of interesting.
Yeah.
After the movie, did you want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
I mean, I'll just ask you on the air, I guess.
Sure.
We're watching the film, and it's obvious if you've seen Ravenous that there are certainly moments where the score is going to make you feel strange and
Right.
certainly uncomfortable. The
Right.
2 points that I think are particularly stand out for this is the chicken run
Mm-hmm.
when Ives is still Calhoun.
Right.
And he tells the one character to run, and then
Sure.
immediately Banjo
Sure.
chasing the chicken score, which is very weird because right before that we get what is probably in my top 10 creepiest moments in a film,
Sure. Yeah.
which is Calhoun breathing and digging funny.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
you have no idea what's going to happen.
Right.
Can we study that moment for just a second here?
Sure, yeah.
What the hell? I
Yeah.
mean,
It is one of the strangest, and the thing is it's one of the weirdest turns in the film.
right.
But the film is packed with stuff like that.
It really is. It really is. I mean, they're in a cave and he's outside and he starts digging.
Yeah.
It almost seems like there's some camera thing going on.
And
but
he's breathing
just,
rhythmically and pointing his fingers like he's almost
Yeah.
dancing.
You don't know what he's pointing at.
Right.
They give you kind of the illusion that he's standing right against one of the characters. Like
Right.
He's right in the guy's face. But it doesn't really, when the camera pulls back, it doesn't appear that he's anywhere near him. And he's digging, and you don't know why he's like, what the fuck is he doing there?
Yeah.
And then the score, getting back to the score.
And then right after, shortly after Boyd gets out of the pit and everything, he's walking back home to the encampment, to the fort.
Mm-hmm.
And the score thing from the intro to the film plays, except it's done with all synthesizers.
Right.
And it sounds like Happy I'm Coming Home music.
Sure.
But you've just been through one of the most upsetting tumults in this forest.
Right.
Because it's not just everybody being slaughtered, and it turns out this dude is a psychotic cannibal, but also Boyd jumps off a cliff, lands on a dying soldier, and then ends up having to eat him in order to survive.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's certainly a dark time in the film.
Right.
And it doesn't feel that way because of the music.
And so I asked you right about this point, maybe a little later, I said, if you didn't know that Damon Albarn was doing the score, would you feel like the score was making mistakes?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's hard for me to answer honestly.
Right.
Probably. I think yes is the answer.
I think so too. I feel like when something happens, I immediately think, whoa, score, wait, you're being a little bit, you're taking too much liberty there.
Right.
And then I think, well, but Damon Albarn knows what he's doing.
Yeah, this is Celebrity Takedown, right?
Right.
This is Gorillaz. This is this is some smart stuff here.
Yeah.
I surrender to it and I say, well, Damon knows what he's doing and I
Yeah.
don't. And I start to read into it in ways that, it's also just possible he wrote this in about 3 hours and never saw the movie, and it just kind of got edited in there by someone who had no idea. These mistakes along the way could be what that's attributed to.
Sure.
You know, I feel like I'm already doing Ravenous a huge disservice because I feel so affected by Jonestown.
Uh-huh.
So, it really should be half of the awesome today.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to give it an extra boost of awesome and say that this was a bunch of incredible decisions by everyone along the way.
Isn't
that led
it?
to this score going in place.
That has
to be it.
I feel like so much of Ravenous does so many things that normal films just don't do.
Well, let's break down. I mean, here's what this is doing,
Sure.
right? As far as the music goes.
Yeah.
Whether it's intentional or not,
Mhm.
we'll assume it's intentional because awesome filmmakers.
Right.
Right. So we're getting in the scene you described alone,
Right.
in just that scene, you have the terror music, you're going through fucking caves, and then all of a sudden you're out of caves and you're getting the fun time music.
Yeah.
It's even worse than continuing the terror music. It's almost as if to say, aren't you having fun with this?
Right.
Aren't you just having a swell time? And you start to think back to the other moments with fun music as if something might have been wrong there and you just had
Right.
no idea.
Sure.
As if everybody was having... It's like a moment from 2001 Maniacs.
Mhm.
We talked about
Right.
about that way back then. We're all having parties and we're all, eating pies and stuff, and then we all look around at each other and go, wait, were those pies made of humans? Was that
Right.
Was that human
Exactly.
meat? We were all just having a good time with human meat.
The whole film kind of, by the end of it, instead of it seeming to take a path where it gets more fucked up,
Mhm.
instead, the way that the film is executed and the way that it's paced and the way that certain things are revealed, it turns out to seem more like the film is revealing how fucked up it's been from the beginning.
Right. Eating people only becomes more normal.
Right.
as the most disturbing scene in the whole fucking movie, for me, is the first scene where
Right.
they're all eating steaks.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I'm so messed up about
Sure.
it, but I absolutely am. And
Yeah.
that scene gets worse as time goes
Yeah.
on. But the whole I'm going to eat people, by the
Mhm.
end, I'm just like, save yourself, eat that dude.
Yeah.
No problem here. I don't even mind.
And it just keeps twisting itself when Ives comes back to the
Uh-huh.
camp after, when he comes back and he's the new head officer,
Right.
because Hart has supposedly been killed. You get this moment where Boyd sees Ives and just falls the fuck down.
Mhm.
And that's what your brain does.
Right.
Your brain just shuts off for a
Right.
second.
What the fuck?
And then you spend the next maybe 10, 15 minutes. Correct me if I'm wrong, because this was the first time you saw this film.
Sure, this is all. You wouldn't tell me, by the way,
Right.
anything.
I didn't
about
want
this
to.
movie. I didn't know anything about the pair. I went in completely cold on this.
Yeah. And so for the next 10 to 15 minutes, you're trying to figure out if Robert Carlyle plays a dual role.
Yeah.
You're not sure if he's Calhoun coming back
Well, and
shaved.
he doesn't have any bruises.
Right. He doesn't have any bruises. He doesn't have any gunshot wounds.
Sure.
He's completely unscathed. And even though you've been told of the Wendigo myth
Yeah.
and how people are revitalized, still in your brain, you're thinking that that can't be a full explanation.
Sure.
There's something else going on here.
Right.
And immediately the film backs up and says, look, all these people are dying and Ives is sitting in his room.
Right.
It
right.
couldn't have been Ives.
Yeah, you don't really even want to suspect a third party,
Right.
until you have to.
Yeah.
Until the film tells you there's a third party, and here's who it is.
Yep.
And you just think, what the hell, Jeffrey Jones?
Yeah.
Also, what the hell, Jeffrey Jones? On
Right.
that note.
This is, you were saying, and it's totally true, this is probably his longest, most involved role in any film.
Yeah, I mean, and
Aside from maybe Ferris Bueller.
well, I thought when he died, I wouldn't even say that. I
Okay.
would say this even
Sure.
beats out Ferris Bueller. So, I mean, you have to tell me a little bit here. Where did this movie come from? Who are these, the list of actors that are in it?
Yeah.
I don't understand how this isn't a movie everybody knows about, especially
know.
given the people in
The
it.
casting and everything. I had no idea about this film. If I may, I can tell you how I discovered this film. And
Unreliable Auburn.
So,
Is that?
Unreliable Auburn.
Is that?
That's
it's
how
like,
I learned.
It's like unreliable narrator,
It's
but
yeah,
we'll
but
never get to use this again. But that would be beautiful when your music is, I don't know,
Misleading?
misleading. Is that?
yeah. When your music thinks the film is going somewhere it's not.
Unreliable Auburn. Well, we'll try. We'll try and just force it upon some other poor film.
But
Is that how?
no, actually,
Okay.
it's kind of strange. It's almost as strange as the film.
I don't believe you.
Somebody tried to add me on this social networking site,
Great.
and I wasn't familiar with them, and I had assumed, as I often do when I don't know people personally,
Sure.
that it's a double feature fan.
Right.
Totally okay with it. Happy to add double feature
I
fans.
automatically add people I don't know and put them in a group called Double
Right.
Feature. So
We're
on the Facebook, by the way. If you want to add us, go ahead and do that.
So I go to this guy's page and I scroll down to movies, which is
Uh-huh.
what I do when I try to determine if it's a double feature fan.
Interesting.
Because if it's a double feature fan, there's about 90 films, and I've only heard of 4 or 5.
Yeah.
This guy had one film,
Really?
and it was this film called Ravenous.
Interesting.
And then listed under his interests was just the word ravenous.
did you get viral added? Is that what
I don't
happened?
know, but
Did this film
this
10
film
years
came out
later?
in 1998.
I know. Wow. Just
So
wow.
I went to the Wikipedia page
Uh-huh.
and saw Robert Carlyle, Jeremy Davies,
Sure.
Jeffrey Jones, and immediately get my hands on this fucking film and watch it, and I'm simultaneously full of adoration and utter fear and disgust
Yeah.
with what's going on.
Sure.
Because I'm thinking this is one of the most ambitious and frightening things I've ever seen done. And it's more frightening that I've never heard about it. It makes
Sure.
me feel like this is being done to just me.
Yeah,
It feels
right.
like a big, scary secret.
Yeah.
And these guys are actually doing these horrible things.
Yeah, I almost feel like this was assembled via YouTube
Right.
from clips of other movies I've
Yeah.
never seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have these huge names, but then you have, and I mean, excuse me here a little bit, Ravenous. I know you were from the late 90s. You have these shit titles.
Yeah.
You have these terrible
Yeah.
fucking titles.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the camera work is a little cheap looking. I
Yep.
mean, I want to give them artistic credit.
Yeah.
Because maybe they didn't have budgetary credit.
Sure.
But a scene, especially like the one where, where he's forced to jump off the cliff.
Right.
The cinematography, the composition of those shots, what is shot and where, and the editing between it
Uh-huh.
is all spectacular. It is all really fantastic. You feel every tiny bump of that fucking hill. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's great. And at the same time, I'm watching it, and there's this strange music.
Right.
And so you're always on this level of genius or insanity
Yep.
with how this film is being
Right.
thrown together. And combined with the fact that no one seems to know what it is, you're right. It feels like a secret joke, but this is something out of the game.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
You're almost afraid to watch it.
Right.
At the end, you find out that you are ravenous. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And so, you have this cast too, and then the cast just fucking dies in the middle of the film.
They all die all at once.
Or kind of in the beginning of the film,
Right.
into the first act. You
Uh-huh.
just kill the entire cast of
Well,
all
it
these different
seems like
people.
the end of the film.
It does.
Because
yeah.
you don't know, you can't imagine where the film will go after it kills all the
Sure.
characters off.
Wow, thanks, Michael. What an interesting independent short you've brought today on Double Feature. And then
Right.
it goes on for another hour.
Well, it turns into this weird story where this lead cannibal is trying to form a cannibalistic society and feed on gold rushers.
Sure.
And it's all really kind of fucked up because what you start realizing about Ives and a little bit about Hart, but mostly Ives,
Mm-hmm.
is that he really likes eating people.
Yeah.
He likes
Big fan.
everything about it.
Sure.
He thinks it's funny. He
Yeah.
thinks it's silly that other people get eaten. He likes to make puns about how he's going to eat people.
Oh, especially on his own deathbed. I mean,
Right.
you can't even believe it.
He just loves everything about it. He is living the cannibal dream. Really good example when the team is coming back from that expedition. Not the first time, but the second time when the woman goes out to fetch the general.
Right.
And he looks out with his telescope and says, breakfast, lunch, reinforcements.
Right.
And you just get this, it's almost like the score is his brain.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of having a jolly time. Oh, I'm a cannibal. Nobody can stop me. This is fun.
Right.
And then you get this horrific moment at the end with the bear trap. Also, just going to point this out, kind of obviously symbolic, right? Bear trap
Sure.
eating the two cannibals.
Sure.
Looks like it. I mean, it looks like fake chattering teeth from Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Not sure where they got a bear trap that big.
Right.
Not sure why it's armed sitting in there. Also not completely sure why you would set it off if the top jaws just latch into you.
Right.
But I mean, I guess there's pressure that the bear trap creates, and it's gonna dig some of those spikes in underneath when the clamps close.
And it's very sneaky.
I'll buy it. Yeah, it's very sneaky, right? I mean, wait, this is just a big fucking game.
And it finally gets to this moment where Boyd has to make the decision of whether he's going to give in, acquiesce. That's a great conversation.
Yeah,
I love
right.
the acquiesce conversation.
Right. Well, that's why the fucking trap is there.
Right.
If you want to ask why is there a bear trap set in there, it's set by the writers. That's exactly why it's there. It's so he has to make a decision.
And we have Ives die and this moment where Boyd looks like he needs to live.
Yeah.
And then he just slowly lays down and falls asleep, and the score swells in this weird, wasn't that a fun story?
Yeah. Right.
Way.
All right, kids, go to bed.
Right. It's just it's the most bizarre, fucked up bedtime story with a happy ending. It's almost like a happy ending because it shows this shot, right, of the two of them cuddling in a bear trap.
Right.
The one guy who's finally met his match who will take him down.
But not eat him.
Right,
But,
not eat him.
He defeats him in the end.
But that's
sort of.
not the end of the cannibals because the general wantonly eats people stew.
Yeah, right.
And the cycle can then continue from there.
They've contaminated the water. It's going to get into the school system.
Right, exactly.
Oh, God.
But I mean, I cannot say enough how much I love this film just for being so fucking weird, but still telling a story that I've never heard before. I mean, the fact that it's in the 1840s.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's just, let's just make it in the 1840s, too. Yeah. Well, also, congratulations to you for finding Antonia Bird, who I believe directs films and has girl parts.
Holy crap.
I think those are both, I'm almost positive those are both true.
Huh.
And I don't know anything about the director. I just can't bring my director A game today. But you've added +1 to the quota, the metrics that have now been set for double feature female directors.
Great.
You have chaptered over to Jonestown, where everything is happy and a good time. I really don't want to start crying on the show.
Just hold it down, brother.
Holy crap. So Jonestown, the life and death of People's Temple is the full title of the movie. And it's directed, it was a 2006 documentary by Stanley Nelson. So bravo Stanley Nelson and bravo everybody involved in the goddamn thing.
Bravo the goddamn guts of the people who were part of the temple.
Oh, I know.
That showed up and
thank you, because I wouldn't have even
gave a talk.
Yeah. The ability of those people, even all the way forward in time here, to still talk about those events and to be able to keep themselves collected.
Right.
I mean, to
amazing. Give some sort of insight outside of screaming, "This was horrible. Why would you ever want to talk about this?"
It reminds me of people coming back from the war that don't want to talk about the war.
Yeah.
That's the right thing. That's the justified thing as far as what we should expect of those people. We should expect them to say nothing because they have been through some of the most traumatic experiences a human being can endure.
Well, and I think that's only juxtaposed against how much joy they probably felt at times too.
Yeah, I know.
That makes it so much worse.
Oh, it really does. I mean, I guess we should talk about that that side of things.
Yeah, I think that's probably, everybody knows the sad stuff.
Absolutely, they do. We talked about this, I can't even remember the episode of the show, but we said, hey, Jonestown, that's a thing we should probably discuss. We should find a documentary, and Jesus fuck, did we find a documentary. I just looked up the first Jonestown documentary, I got it off Netflix, I watched it, and this fucking happened.
Yeah.
And then I thought, hey, I should make Michael watch
Thanks for
this
that
as well.
You got me back for Martyrs. I'll give you that.
Thank you. So we start with another black screen with white text. We're learning about some people. We're learning about the time, the events that were taking place. And I mean, this is, even trauma aside, an incredible story.
Yeah.
Made more so incredible by how it ends.
Sure.
But an incredible story. We have Jim Jones, who is the fucking Elvis of this story, right?
Yeah.
The Jesus of this story.
Everything is at his command, and it's just, I mean, the arc of Jim Jones from the beginning to the end of this is mind-boggling.
Sometimes people say crazy things, something has to be real because you couldn't make
You couldn't
shit
make
like this
something
up.
like this up.
And rarely do I believe that as
Right.
a fan of narrative fiction.
Sure.
But then I see something like Jim Jones.
Right.
And you almost wouldn't even believe this story. It's, you know, the thing that makes it unbelievable is not, if I just told you a story, all right, this guy is not evil.
Uh-huh.
He's, he does some evil fucking things, but he's a human character. He starts out doing great stuff.
Sure.
And by the end, he's fucking slaughtering people. That's not that unbelievable a
Right.
story. But when you see the enthusiasm, even kind of speaking about him today,
Right.
these people seem full of, I mean,
It's
they
a
really
respect
love
for
this
at
guy.
least a part of Jim Jones.
Yeah, absolutely.
They never lose the fact that when he got started and when the People's Temple was in its roots before it moved to South America,
Right.
there was a really wonderful, fantastic thing
Yeah.
that was going on there. They never lose sight of that, despite what could only be described as the worst possible outcome
Yeah.
for the People's Temple.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, short of world destruction,
Mhm.
this is about the worst fucking thing that could have happened. I guess the, you know, the, 90 people or whatever that weren't there that day
Right.
could have been there.
Sure.
That's really the only way it could have been any worse.
Yeah.
And in some ways, not to shortchange, you know, human life, but the fact that people made it out, it makes it more tragic for the rest of us knowing that story.
Sure.
This could have been a story we never got details
Waco.
about. Yeah, right. Waco, where we get very few survivor tales. We get very few audio recordings from inside. The thing that's incredible about the Jonestown story to me is that I knew so little about it before having seen
Right.
this.
You knew the
And
Kool-Aid.
yeah, I mean, there's no, I've never really come across a documentary about this. It seems like there should be 30 documentaries about
Right.
this,
Absolutely.
especially given how much, you know, they recovered.
Sure. Well, given
from
the
the
fact
event.
that Jim Jones' own son
Sure.
is willing to discuss it,
Yeah.
I think that's a documentary in and of itself.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's really incredible. It really is. I mean, so you have this guy, all right? So he's definitely a real character, although what he ends up doing is fucking despicable and
Mhm.
evil and in the highest regard. But he starts by breaking down racial barriers.
Right.
He starts by building a community,
Uh-huh.
something that he's enthusiastic for, and it may be part of the narrative of the documentary.
Right.
But those anecdotes are at least there. It seems like in the beginning, he is a pure and upstanding. He's not only a pure and upstanding guy, he's a guy it seems like Double Feature would get along just fine with.
Yeah, well, I mean, aside
For somebody who has their own church, I guess,
yeah,
right?
exactly. There's a few things he does that are not so good. One being fake miracles. But
Yeah.
that's almost completely overshadowed. I'm never willing to overlook
No.
something
No,
completely.
never.
But it is certainly overshadowed by the fact that he worked out a working socialist community,
Right.
which, be it as it may, our own, you know, ideas of socialism, the fact that he got it to work and that people were taken care of,
Right.
that is important.
Yeah.
People taking care of other people, that's the important
Oh,
thing
sure.
from that community. And also the whole eventually gives up no heaven, we have to actually do shit instead of
Sure.
pray to Skyman to send us apples.
I believe you mean Sky Pig.
Skypig.
Your imaginary Sky Pig. Yeah, you know, in a lot of ways, I feel like, obviously there's nothing libertarian about socialism.
Right.
But there is something kind of libertarian about a small section of people within,
Sure.
let's say, a free United States who decide they want to embark on a socialist experiment.
Right. They want to operate on a socialistic level.
That's purely within their rights.
Right.
It's something, myself as a libertarian, I would not join into.
Right, but nobody's asking you to.
Exactly. No one by force is taking your money and making you do this. Although I guess there's some coercion really
Sure.
in the manipulation
Right,
there.
there's fear and sleepiness, both of which I know are very good tactics at getting people to do something, especially the latter.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And when we start to look at how this happened, I think that's one of our keystones in that. But all right, so breaking down racial barriers, that's a big thing. I mean, it's surprising, really, even hearing that, how human this guy is. That integration and the bus tour that he's talking about, this thing where they're carting these buses around, and then the senior homes. The guy's building
Right.
fucking senior homes. Now, granted, in doing it, he's also taking all of the proceeds from seniors selling their actual homes.
Right.
But he's using that money to create senior communities.
Sure, and to take care of them if they need to go to the hospital or if they need a dentist appointment. It's a full ride. It's almost like an end-of-your-life scholarship.
Yeah, that's how it seemed to me, too. These people are nearing the end of their lives. Jim Jones is befriending a bunch of old ladies, so when they die, he will get all their money.
Right.
And that starts to make him an asshole, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's really until he's dressing up his secretary as a poor, crippled old woman that I'm really feeling, all right, scumbag. You know what I mean? That's some Peter Popoff shit. That's some
exactly.
James Randi kicks Peter Popoff's ass kind of stuff. And, we've talked that to death, but look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. This is where we enter into that great thing, I hate. You want to just give me the phrase? I know you know what's going on in my brain right now.
I believe the phrase is the end justifies the means.
Yeah, absolutely. We have an end outcome here. Doesn't matter how many people we're lying to or deceiving in the meantime. The point is they will find Jim Jones or Christ or my charity or whatever stupid thing people are trying to do. It's never okay to lie to people. I take a really hard stance on that. You can get into minutia with little white lies and what if it blah blah. Don't care.
When in question, don't fucking lie.
Yeah, right. That's exactly where I come down. But then he's fucking launching the Bible across the church,
which is kind of awesome.
This black book has oppressed black people. There is no heaven. Let's make heaven here. I mean, I'm already starting to forget about lying to fucking everyone.
Right.
Lying to everyone.
Well, and there's also the other thing that I personally thought was really cool, where the People's Temple was just willing to show up and fight for your cause.
Right.
You would call them, they would show up in droves with picket signs and support you.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the fucking 70s, right?
Yeah,
That's the 60s,
incredible.
the 70s. That was the movement. People could change the world. People could at least change the nation.
But they stopped sleeping and they stopped thinking for themselves.
Sure, and Jim Jones ended up with some more political power, as if he weren't already monopolizing.
Yeah, taking advantage of these people here, taking over their lives and really using them as his workers, his minions almost.
Right.
So the movie shows his Kool-Aid fake out, where he tells everybody they just drank poison. And we kind of get a reaction out of that. And that's the first time the film invokes that. And it's right about the right time because you're thinking Jim Jones, what a great guy. And then you're thinking, man, if he poisoned everybody, that would be kind of shitty, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And then he starts taking advantage of people sexually. And nobody is on his side at that point.
Well, he gets into that weird everybody's homosexual except me, but he's clearly repressing something.
Well, that's when you start feeling the Waco vibes. Right. Right.
Exactly.
I'm exempt from all the rules. Everyone is my sexual servant. And seeing one of the victims talk about how, all the men were saying, oh yeah, I'll sleep with Jim Jones or I slept with Jim Jones. And he's just thinking, man, I love my wife. Right. That guy is just great. I mean, everybody's great in this, but I never forget that little section of the interview because he has so much. I mean, it's so absurd to him, it's laughable. Right. Until it becomes blisteringly tragic later on. Right. And then there's the woman who wrote the book as well, talking about being invited back, or I guess told to go to the back of his bus or whatever.
I mean, if ever there were a time to use the oxymoron consensual rape.
Yeah, sure.
It's there. It's when power is exercised and you don't feel comfortable saying no.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's under complete control. This is the man who effectively runs
her world.
Yeah, right. So where it really gets dangerous, if it isn't dangerous by this point, is where they have this separation from Jonestown and the rest of the United States. Sure. And they start talking about when people eventually come to Jonestown, they're being reunited with their families. So they have this separation, and it's an exclusive society. No one can leave. People start turning each other in. It reminds me of Scientology. Yeah.
It's a combination of Scientology, 1984, and Equilibrium.
Yeah, I think that describes it perfectly. I mean, once you're in, you are afraid to leave. Sure. If you talk about leaving, you get turned in. It becomes prison there, and you have
Right.
to convince yourself it's not prison. You're not even allowed to talk about it as if it is prison.
Right.
That's not a free society.
Well, and
in
there's
the
this
least.
glint of promise that happens where they talk about when Jim Jones isn't there and how it's
Yeah.
lighter and there's music and it seems like it's just a more fun, happy place. And it makes me, I don't know if it makes you or anybody else, but me, it made me think, would this have worked if at this moment Jim Jones were assassinated, if he gave up, if he
Sure.
left, if he
Sure.
vanished? Would Jonestown have progressed into an actual flourishing utopian society?
That's a pretty amazing question, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the sort of thing you could spend a lot of time talking about
Right.
and speculating on.
It's shocking that one man has the control to turn a
Sure.
potentially perfect society into 1,000 corpses.
We don't really have a good point of comparison for
No.
that. We have
It's all speculation.
We have a couple. There's things like, are you aware of the Free State Project? You ever heard of that? So it's all these people who move to, I want to say it's Vermont or something.
Uh-huh.
I don't know enough about it, but it's a bunch of fucking crazy freedom fighter, and like more power to them.
Sure.
I don't mean to knock that stuff, but they decided, all right, we are into extreme freedoms on all fronts. We should all just move somewhere so we have more power. We can exercise that a little bit more. So they just picked a state. I don't know if it was already the fucking freest state or whatever they decided to live in, but they do these kind of civil disobedience and these political things. It's almost a complete place of activism,
Cool.
and they can exercise these crazy experiments as far as, well, what if we used fucking Liberty dollars, right? Or
Right.
I don't know. They've kind of created their own society under the larger United States
Cool.
society. And so we have little kind of projects like
Right.
that spring up here and there. But as far, I'm amazed that these guys were able to build their own city
Sure.
in a place where there was not a city before
Build
they
and
came.
support.
Yeah.
I mean, they had food for the entire populace.
And the period when he's gone, eventually that ends.
Right.
I mean, once the fucking crazy spills out, you have these Andrew Ryan style messages
Right.
playing over the overhead.
Right.
Andrew Ryan, not Senator Ryan, who's in
Right.
the movie.
Two different.
But just 24/7 propaganda. Just a constant stream of, honestly, a constant stream of lies.
Sure.
It's not even just.
It's insulation.
Yeah, it's a way to remain in control, even when you yourself have to sleep.
Right.
So you start to get this maddening voice that's just talking to you at all times. And then we get to this point in the documentary where, and tell me if this struck you or not, when we're talking about Senator Ryan,
Right.
this is the point when I saw it the first time that I start thinking, we're getting to a point where there's people we're talking about in the documentary who are not being interviewed in the documentary.
Right.
How long are we talking about Ryan as the hero of the story before you go, we're not going to interview Ryan, are we?
I never considered that
Oh,
because
really?
I assumed he was, he looked a little bit older in the video footage.
Sure. That
Maybe
could be it.
he
Yeah, definitely.
didn't live. Maybe he had a heart attack.
Maybe he also just didn't want to participate.
Sure.
That's
I mean, there's
totally
all
fine,
kinds
too.
of, with politics and especially something as delicate as Jonestown.
Sure.
I was trying really hard not to speculate as to why this person wasn't being interviewed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the movie makes it seem like you can just get anybody to talk
Sure.
about it because of the impossible, interviews that they really get.
I think it came down to just disgust, fear, and I think a perpetuation of the truth.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want it to seem like a monstrous idea that
Yeah.
was doomed from the start.
Right.
They wanted to tell a version of it that proved that at least they had the best of intentions and they weren't there to watch people die.
So then this is it. This is where it gets hard. I mean, they start going over the supplies.
Right.
And Jim Jones is showing them,
Food,
here we have the Brian.
black-eyed peas, some rice. Oh, and over in this container, we have the Kool-Aid.
And so this time it feels a lot harder than last time. Last time it was just a powdered beverage.
Mm-hmm.
This time it is a fucking poison. Even though it's not a poison yet,
Right.
this is the same Kool-Aid that will be going in these people's mouths. This will be ending their life. The supplies, he's casually, going over here.
Sure.
And then it gets even fucking worse. You're seeing the party. They're throwing this great party and you're seeing all these people I mean, alive, but fucking alive. You
Right.
know what I mean? They're
dancing, happy, singing.
They are having the time of their life. Things could not be going better as far as the show that they're putting on.
Right.
This seems like out of the happiest 70s movie we have ever seen. Everybody's having a blast. And to know that 24 hours later, they will all be dead. All of them. And you're just looking at these people. You're seeing them celebrate.
You're seeing them smile.
The woman singing
Right.
and dancing, she's going to be dead. They're all going to be slaughtered. These are the real people. You're looking at
Right.
footage of people who will all be dead. That's fucking hard.
Yeah.
That's the first moment where it really hits me. And then there's the day that things fell apart. You know, they're talking about the cameraman getting shot. That's another
Right.
incredibly hard moment. You know, they show the video signal going out, whether that's actually his camera or not.
Sure. And the totally fucked up moment where the sound operator he has a little toy plane and a little toy truck, and
Right.
he just kind of
Oh,
drives it
God.
around, and it's toys. And if it were any other, goddamn show, Bullshit did it a lot. The TV show where
Sure.
they would have people make diagrams and it looked dumb as shit.
Yeah, right.
I hate that little truck.
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
I know, man. Oh God, it's show me on the doll where they touched you, right?
Yeah, yes.
But I mean, that's even become a joke because of
Right.
how this. Oh God, it's tragic. And I mean, the part that I can't get through. It's hard. Honestly, it's hard for me to even talk about it.
Yeah.
They have this incredible audio, this once in a lifetime, possibly greatest recording of audio ever. Cannot believe this exists. That is just these people desperately crying out as they're dying.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're listening to.
And Jim Jones talking about how they have to die faster.
And when you get to Christine Miller, I mean,
Yeah.
I literally have goosebumps right now just thinking about it. I fucking lose it. I cannot deal with it. That woman who is the single dissenting voice, basically arguing with him, saying, we don't have to die here. And she puts up a fight. She is the last real struggle to save these
Right.
900 lives.
Right.
And the crowd goes against her. There's some random man who basically says, Jim Jones has given you this life. He's given you, your life up to this point.
Uh-huh.
And that's the last you hear of her. And the entire time they're going over these, they're going one by one through the people who are interviewed, talking about the final days,
Right.
talking about their relatives who are there. And there is this constant audio under everyone's story of just people crying out as they're dying.
Yeah.
For minutes, for what seems like days.
Yeah.
It's just the sounds of people dying against these stories, against a man losing his wife and child, talking very frankly about his baby foaming from the mouth.
Right.
Talking about their loved ones, and then you just see the bodies. You just see all of these people face down, lying there dead, and a letter from an anonymous woman, of the probably the final collective thoughts there.
Sure.
Thoughts better than I would ever be able to organize. If I'm at Jonestown, I'm losing it, right?
Yeah.
I'm just a fucking baby. I'm useless. I am fearing for the end of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And someone sits down and collects their thoughts and writes about this experiment and basically says, you need to tell the world. And in any other documentary, this comes up, and I think, fuck you, documentary.
Right.
I see what you're doing here. You're doing that thing we made fun of on Schindler's List.
Yeah.
Where at the end, they go, hey, Schindler's List, really glad somebody made this movie. Oh,
Yeah.
turns out I made it. And so the documentary is basically showing this letter that says someone needs to tell this story. But it is so good that it gets to do that.
It's horrible and remarkable simultaneously, and that's what makes it so bad.
And good. We have websites. Fuck it. I don't care. What are we doing next time?
Next time we're going to try to lighten the mood a little bit with a little one-handed score by a man named John Carpenter.
Okay.
We're going to do Assault on Precinct 13, adding another check to our immense John Carpenter library. That's
We're
on
seriously, with
double
every
feature.
with every one we knock down, there's two more we discover
Right.
as if they're coming out of a vault somewhere.
And then we're gonna hit another double feature on the right side of the website favorite. That'd be Alfred Hitchcock with The Wrong Man.
All right, so here's the deal, and we'll talk about this time, and next time you hear from us, it's going to sound like there was a great plan here. I'll take the blame for this, even though technically we should probably blame the producer, right?
Okay.
But I'm feeling very human today. I'm
All
just
right,
going to
fair
completely
enough.
take the blame. We're phoning it in.
Yeah.
Now, we're not going to phone it in on the episode.
No, we're not gonna phone in the show. We're
the
phoning
episode
in the
will
selection.
be great, right?
Yep.
But all the double features have been making too much sense, and we tried to just knock things off of the routine this week.
Yep.
And
I wanted to do John Carpenter. You wanted to do Alfred Hitchcock.
They just need. It's been about 6 months, and we've only done one Hitchcock, which I
Yep.
said, this year we're going to start nailing more Hitchcock stuff. We haven't done any John Carpenter in, I don't know, 5
I love
minutes.
John Carpenter too much to let that happen.
I know. So these are directors we need to talk about more of their movies, and honestly, I just don't give enough of a good goddamn about pairing things up with wacky theme. Great job with the two movies are linked by some arbitrary show. We're just going to talk about 2 good movies. I hope they're good. They'll be good.
They'll be great.
What are the movies?
We're going to do Assault on Precinct 13 and The Wrong Man.
You were going to forget the fucking movies.
I already said
weren't
it.
you? Did you?
Yeah.
All right. It's
Watch more fucking film.
yeah, bye. So here's the thing. We didn't use the bad cat today.
We didn't.
This is I'm going to try and be a little bit more excited.
We
but this
feared
is one
for
of
the
those,
bad cat.
Yeah. Well, we came up with this great device, doublefeatureshow.com/bad cat. It's a stupid fucking cat popping out of a bag. It's not even in English. Not that it matters. The cat doesn't even talk, but we've been thwarted, man. I mean,
I don't know if we've been thwarted. I think our fear of being thwarted prevented us from letting it happen.
we created a great weapon, and it's not useful here.
Yeah, it's not. Well, I was just. We were both afraid that watching Bad Cat would just seem really sad.
Well, so so we're gonna do Ravenous and Jonestown. We're gonna spoil them. Jonestown's a documentary, and Ravenous is really hip. You should see it and use the chapters. If you haven't seen it, skip to Jonestown, and hopefully I'll sound happier than this. Here's what happens every time. We're going to take a couple minutes to bullshit here.
Sure.
All right. So
Bullshit, Bad Cat diatribe.
use the chapters. Skip over to the I don't give a shit. It's our show. We're just going to talk about it a little bit. It's important. So we cover these movies. Everybody knows about Bad Cat right now because it's probably the best thing we've ever created.
Second most visited page, third most.
Right, something like that. And it's not even our video. It's some other guy.
Right.
It doesn't matter. So you watch some movies. They're rough. You have a bad time. You feel sad. You don't want to come on our show and feel sad.
Right.
We're like friends here. We're
Yep.
humanity. People come. They should hang out with us. It's all fine. We love every goddamn person who listens to the show, even the people who write us mean letters.
Yeah.
Love them all.
Especially those.
Love people. Hate ideas. Love people, right? That was the
That
thing.
sounds about right.
All right. So, Bad Cat. So getting back to Bad Cat. So we're pairing these movies up, and every year we seem to have this dilemma since at least the second year, where we'll get like halfway through the year, and all of a sudden the hard stuff starts coming.
Yeah.
We start putting these movies on, movies that you don't watch often enough because they're kind of like a punch to the gut.
It started with Martyrs. I mean, that's a textbook example of when to
Martyrs,
bust out the
but
cat.
I mean, right, there's comparison, the fun one,
Right.
next to Jonestown. So that makes Ravenous the fun one,
Right.
which is even funnier because it's not. But we're going to put it first, and then we're going to talk about Jonestown. Now, normally we would use the Bad Cat at the end.
Sure.
You and I would watch Bad Cat, and then we'd come record the show. Everything would be fine. We just finished watching Jonestown a couple minutes ago. And my fear is I'm imagining Bad Cat, but with the piano score from the end of Jonestown.
Right.
Bad Cat would destroy Bad Cat.
It would.
We would never be able to use it again.
Mm-hmm.
It would crush it. Bad Cat would become instantly the saddest fucking thing you've ever seen, which, I mean, is not fair. That's not something that you cannot taint the Bad Cat. It needs to be pure and beautiful at all times. And stupid. It needs to remain stupid. Because the second
above
it
all
stops,
things.
it stops becoming stupid.
It
Everything
needs
is
to
destroyed.
remain mindless and disassociated.
Yeah, right. Otherwise, there's no constant in the universe. So I'm really sad, and we're going to start with...
Well, boys, looks like you started the fun without me.
You're all sick. Every last one of you.
We're going to need a bigger gun.
What's the matter? You scared of things that go boom, boom?
Give me one goddamn reason why I shouldn't blow your goddamn brains all over that goddamn wall.
It almost feels weird even coming in off that music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
Like we should wait for it to wind down or something. I don't know.
Breathe. Maybe you've done a piano dub.
My name is Eric, and you're Michael.
I am Michael.
And we got a double feature today. We got a single word movie, a double order dilemma feature.
I'm calling it Failed Utopia double feature today.
Failed Utopia is fine. That's a fine theme. Here's the order dilemma, right? This is break out your bag, cat. It's time for another exciting episode of double feature.
Yep.
Episode.
Right.
But I mean, you know, there's been a bunch of them.
Oh, sure.
And every time we talk about Bad Cat, we seem to bring them all up. Even as far back as Hostel, I guess. Hostel was more just weird feelings.
Yeah.
But also just this fucking profound moment in cinema that I didn't know movies could do, right? And so our hope is we fix this. We no longer have a movie that disturbs us so much we can't record a show. Because we have a dumb little cat that pops his stupid head out of a bag. And what's he going to do? His head's in the bag, and then it comes out of the bag. Here's the thing, right? So we don't have to worry about order. We don't have to worry about the fun one goes second or whatever, get us out of the mood.
Sure.
Because we just look at the dumb little cat, and then we should all feel better.
Right.
Everybody should feel, the people who listen should feel better. We should feel better. We should come on here. We should just all have a great time. It should be a goddamn party. So we put Ravenous first. And just watch it first, whatever. Watch it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, by comparison, it's the fun one. Because at this point, every film we've ever done, with the exception of maybe a small handful, will be, by